All right, welcome back, everybody. Aesop Grimm here, and this is the continuation of our Elden Ring Chronicle. Now, this episode right here, there's not going to be any gameplay in this episode. That's going to be the following episode. I don't know quite what I'm going to call it. I think I'm going to go stats and info. I'm going to hold an episode like this every now and again, or as I see fit, we'll put it that way. And it's just going to be going over stuff in our inventory, trying to learn about the systems, trying to learn about the world around us, looking at any kind of lore or narrative, extra information they give us about something, and looking at our statistics and seeing where we're at, stuff like that. But those are the kinds of things that I realize there's going to be probably a number of people that don't really want to spend a lot of time in that, and they want to get right back to gameplay. So I want to make it its own episode. So, for instance, I think this is episode number 4, and it'll be labeled episode 4, stats and info, or whatever name I come up with it. I'm thinking stats and info right now. And then whenever I decide to do another episode like that in the future, it'll be something like episode 18, stats and info. So every time you see stats and info, you know that that's not going to be a gameplay video. That's a video that I'm going over stuff in the inventory. So let's go ahead and get started. And if I go to the inventory, most everything here I already know about. This, I noticed this and thought this was interesting. This is the Kukri. I've seen these knives in real life. They're awesome. They fit in a special sheath that sits horizontally at the small of the back. And it says throw at enemies to inflict damage and build up onset of blood loss. So if we want to do a blood build, this might work. And if you look here, it scales at a super level with dexterity. It also scales very well with strength. Mostly you're going to see letter grades A, B, C, D. And it's like school. An A is a good grade, a D is a bad grade. But when you see S, that's amazing. That is really, really great, apparently. Now, I don't know the difference, how much of a jump it is. But I know that it scales okay-ish with arcane. It scales real well with strength. But it scales amazingly with dexterity. And so how you distribute your points, for every point that you put in, it will increase this X amount depending on this grade here. So if we want to do a dexterity build, this might be nice to have, although I would think that this would fit maybe better with the samurai, because for us, we're probably going to use incantations to pull. I have raisins. Yeah, I tried recording this video before, and I noticed as I was recording it, things were rolling out differently than I expected, so I decided to redo the recording. But what that means is that I've already accessed the crafting screen, and I made 10 of these Roa raisins to feed Torrent while on horseback. It restores his hit points. So with that said, well, before we leave this screen, I'll show you that next. But right here, I wanted to show that I also have learned the tarnished furled finger is what you put down when you're advertising yourself as available to be called into another player's world to help them out. Now, I play offline right now, so this is not applicable to me. But this is the opposite. The small golden effigy is what you use whenever you want to signal to the online world, hey, I need some help from people. Who's willing to come give me a hand? And then this one right here, this is like a hearthstone. It sends you or somebody else home. And I thought that I remembered reading that there was a cost to that, like a runic cost or something. But I don't see that reflected here. And then here's the tarnished wizened finger, and that's what you use to write messages for players to see in their games if you're playing online. Okay, let's get out of the inventory. Let's go into item crafting. Most of these require a cracked pot. Remember, we read that cracked pots are, you gather them so that you can use these materials to make a potion or a tincture, and they will fit into that cracked pot, and then you can throw them, and they do whatever it is that they do, and you will keep the cracked pot on hand, but you spend the material that you fabricated. So in this case, what we would do is we would let me use my mouse. Can you see my mouse right here? So it tells us that we don't have any in our inventory. We don't have any in our chest. We have no containers. And we have no cracked pots. I don't know what the difference is here between container and cracked pot. It requires 1 mushroom and 1 smoldering butterfly. So it doesn't actually seem like it. We throw it at enemies to inflict fire damage. Can I make it? Cannot craft this item as you do not have any cracked pots. Okay, so we do need a cracked pot for that. But for this right here, the Roa raisin, it just requires the Roa fruit. And you can click that, and you can come up here and you can change this number to whatever you want. And you can make that many. And it shows me that I have 15 Roa fruit. And if I made 15 of them, it would bring me to a total of 25 Roa raisins. So let's go ahead and do that. There we go. All right, so now I'm out of Roa fruit. This right here, the rainbow stone, I don't know what the difference is between this and a beacon. It says shines with colored light when placed, serving as a guide. That sounds like what the beacon does. But we can make them out of ruin fragments, which are found near the remains of fallen ruins. I guess I'll make one now. Okay, I made one. And then this right here, this is the Furl Calling Finger Remedy, reveals co-op and hostile summoning signs. And it would take 2 Erd Leaves. To make 8 of them? No, I have 8 Erd Leaves. It requires 2. Looking right here, requires 2. And the number I have that I'm holding right now is 8. Okay. We can also make these bone darts. So let me see if I can do that. Oh, it's going to require 2 to make 1 bone dart. Well, I guess 5 of them. Okay, so I now have 5 bone darts on hand. I have a rainbow stone. I have 25 Roa raisins. And then I have this remedy sitting here that can be made, but I don't want to because I don't need it. And then we got roped fire pot, regular fire pot, and roped fire pot. What is this? Oh, there's nothing in this category that I can make. Okay. And then we can make our own arrows and bolts if need be. All right, so that's the crafting menu. Was there anything else in inventory? Yes, there was. It was right here. These are all the little pop-up tutorial messages that we've received during the game. But I want to make sure you can read the information right here. Information about crouching, we can press the X button and read about it right here. But if we miss one or we get some others that they, because they don't want to spam us, it doesn't throw anything up on the screen. I want to be able to look at that kind of stuff in a video like this so that we can kind of learn everything about this game. Now, the main thing that this is for is I'm trying to figure this stuff out right here. And it tells me that, where do I do this? Simple view. No. Oh, the help screen. I need to open the help screen and I need to highlight explanation. Okay, we're going to go through this line by line. Okay, so our current level is 10, a cumulative figure that represents overall attribute strength. And then it's also telling us that we can increase this by using runes. Level up, basically. Okay, this is the number of runes that I'm currently holding. 3,578. Total runes in possession. Upon dying, you will drop any runes in your possession at the site of your death. And then there is the runes needed for me to level up, which is 829. In the next episode, we're going to open up with that. We're going to be leveling up. Number of runes required to raise a level. When you level up, you can choose an attribute to increase. And I'm thinking of increasing dexterity. Vigor might be a good one to increase also. Maybe we'll go with that. That one first. Okay, Vigor, attribute governing hit points, also affects fire resistance and immunity. Now I'm sure, okay, so if you look over here under resistance, we have immunity, your resistance to various poisons and rot. The higher the number, the lower your susceptibility, governed by your attributes as well as defensive gear and any additional effects. So looking at Vigor again, attribute governing the amount of hit points we have 414 right now. Your life, if reduced to nothing, you die. Replenish it by drinking from the flask of crimson tears or resting at a site of grace. So we have 414 hit points right now. We have 177 immunity. I'm not sure what this number is in comparison to this number. I watched a video and I'm sure that it told me. Actually, I think he might have been a little bit confused about that also. Maybe this is a raw number and this is like a percentage or something. But Vigor governs the hit points, fire resistance, and immunity. So when it says fire resistance, I don't think it's talking about resistance under here because we don't see fire. But we do see fire under damage mitigation. Damage negation, I should say. Your defense power and damage negation against fire attacks. The former is calculated via attributes, so defense power, while the latter, talking about damage negation, is calculated via defensive gear and any additional effects. So maybe that's what this is right here. Let me get my mouse off of that. Okay, looking over at the resistance column, maybe 177 is our immunity score governed by our attributes, and 85 is what we're getting from gear. Or maybe it's telling us that 177 is our total amount and 85 of that is coming from gear. I'm just not totally sure, guys. But that's what this is about. As the game progresses, we'll figure it out. So Vigor affects those things. Fire resistance, immunity, and the amount of hit points that we have. Then we have Mind. This attribute determines the amount of mana points we have. Currently we have 77. And it also affects our focus. Okay, so here's mana, energy consumed to use spells and skills. Replenish it by drinking from the flask of cerulean tears or resting at a site of grace. And then if we look at focus, your resistance to sleep and bouts of madness. The higher the number, the lower your susceptibility, governed by your attributes as well as defensive gear and any additional effects. I'm almost certain then that that's what it's saying. This column is attributes and this column is defensive gear and other effects. So these status effects will show up in a bar, and when that bar is full, it'll break us in some way. It'll have an effect. It triggers an effect. Okay, endurance. So currently our vigor is at 10, our mind is at 13, endurance is at 10. Attribute governing stamina also affects robustness. This attribute also determines how heavy your equipment can be. So stamina is right here. We have 92, required for various actions, depletes when certain actions are taken, but recovers automatically. And it also affects robustness, your resistance to blood loss and frostbite. The higher the number, the lower your susceptibility, governed by your attributes as well as defensive gear and any additional effects. We actually have quite a high robustness. That's our highest stat right now when it comes to immunities or resistances. Yeah, resistance. And this attribute also affects how much equipment that we can, how much weight we can put on an equipment and still stay at a medium load, for example. It'll push this number up, which coincidentally allows us to increase this number and still stay at a medium load so that we're light on our feet, and we don't spend huge amounts of stamina rolling. This attribute also determines how heavy your equipment can be. Okay. Then there is strength, attribute required to wield heavy armaments. Also boosts attack power of strength scaling armaments and affects your physical defense. Physical defense. Okay, that's right here. We have a 79 right now from attributes and 24.513 from gear. Your defense power and damage negation against standard physical attacks. Okay, so I said that wrong. This is our defense. The former is calculated via attributes, and this is damage negation, while the latter is calculated via defensive gear and any additional effects. So defense and damage negation. I wonder how they combine together. Because I do understand they're different. I know that in World of Warcraft, defense would be like your armor value. It's just straight up when you get hit with a sword or a great hammer, how much of that is absorbed by your gear so that you take much less of a health hit. Whereas what was called damage mitigation had to do with like dodge, where you would avoid hits, or the hits would be like glancing blows, so they only do a part of their damage. And I'm wondering if that's the same kind of concept here. You have defense, but then you have damage negation, which has to do with mitigating damage versus just outright blocking it or absorbing it through armor. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. All right, dexterity, attribute required to wield advanced armaments, also boosts attack power. Oh wait, let me look at strength again. Also boosts attack power, strength scaling armaments, and affects your physical defense. Okay. And then dexterity, attribute required to wield advanced armaments, also boosts attack power of dexterity scaling armaments. Reduces casting time of spells. Yeah, whenever I saw this in the guide that I was watching on YouTube, that's where I started thinking maybe I want to go dexterity, because this governs two major things, whereas strength only governs really kind of one. Not only does this boost the attack power of a dexterity scaling weapon, but it also reduces casting time of spells, which I assume includes incantations. So for our class, this would be really good. It's a double bonus. And it also softens fall damage and makes it harder to be knocked off of our horse. Okay, so I'm thinking very seriously about going dexterity. What else do we got here? Cast time of spells. You know, I don't see a cast time listed up here. All right, intelligence. Attribute required to perform glintstone sorceries. Also boosts magic power of intelligence scaling sorceries and improves magic resistance. I think incantations count as spells, and intelligence is what is falling under a category called sorceries. That's what governs your sorceries. So again, our class using incantations would benefit from this. A wizard class would want to go with this, like a prophet, if I'm reading this right. All right, faith. Attribute required to perform sacred incantations. Also boosts magic power of faith scaling incantations. Oh, you know what? This is applying to magic overall. This is both incantations and sorceries. And then intelligence will govern the sorceries specifically, while faith governs the power of incantations. And then you have arcane. Attribute governing discovery also affects holy defense, vitality, and certain sorceries and incantations. So I know arcane discovery is like your luck attribute. How likely are you to find good equipment on mobs? And then if I come over here and look at vitality, your resistance to death. The higher the number, the lower your susceptibility to instant death, governed by your attributes as well as defensive gear and any additional effects. This, again, it's just like these other status effects. There will be a bar. Some of these mobs we run into, what they are building up on you is when it fills the bar and it triggers, it will instantly kill you, no matter how much health you have. That's what it sounds like to me. And arcane is what helps you resist that. Okay. So then if we move over here, right armament 1, 2, and 3, let's go into, to explain this, we need to go into our equipment. And right here, if you look up here, we have right hand armament 1, right hand armament 2, and right hand armament 3. So we have 3 different weapons that we can stack into here, which we can then switch between. I can't show you, but do you see the right box populating and unpopulating? We have up to 3 weapons that we can cycle through in that slot. And we equip them right here. So currently I have a sword, I have a broadsword, and then I have my fist. You can see that reflected right here. Broadsword. And because this is empty, it's my fist. Notice that we do 20 physical damage plus 2. I don't know where we're getting the plus 2 from. Probably from gear. And this is 117 plus 13, so 7, 8, 9, 10. So we're doing 120 there. 120. So now if we go over to status, did I do my math wrong? I might have. I hate to math in public. I'm so bad at it. 130, that's our broadsword. 22 is our fist. 81 is our shield. 28 is our seal. And that third option is our fist again, so it's 22. So this is just a way to see the damage of the various options you have to cycle through your slots, your 3 slots for the left hand and your 3 slots for the right hand. Okay, now if we look at, let's see, how did I do that? Help, explanation. All right. Physical, your defense power and damage negation against standard physical attacks. The former is calculated via attributes, while the latter is calculated via defensive gear and any additional effects. Versus strike, your defense power and damage negation against striking physical attacks. So notice it's the same number. Not on gear, though. On gear, it starts to change, but as far as our attributes, it's the same. And that makes sense. That makes sense to me. All right, then we have slash. Damage negation against slashing physical attacks. And then versus pierce. Defense power and damage negation against piercing physical attacks. Magic. This is all reading the same exact way. So we can monitor how our stats change as we roll forward through the game. Fire defense, lightning defense, holy defense. Okay. All right, and that's pretty much everything that I wanted to look at. These are the numbers that should be changing in the next episode whenever we level up. So with that, I'm going to close this episode out. And I think maybe we'll be headed south a little bit. We need to just kind of explore around some. I don't really want to go further along this main mission line. I want to look in this area. I want to stay in this zone and just sort of look around. All right, guys, again, I'm Aesop Grimm. Thank you for coming by the channel. I hope you like what you saw. I hope all is well in your neck of the woods. And I'll see you in the next episode where this story continues.